What's going on, everybody? It's Childish. We're back at it again. We got ourselves the next event update for y'all today. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. We have ourselves the Rune Removal Day coming up this Saturday, February 4th. We're going to have 24 hours, ladies and gents, to go ahead and mix and match all those runes so that we can thereby improve our units and teams in Summoners War. Shout out to the free-to-play community one time. I know y'all been waiting 30 days for this. Yeah, buddy. For all everybody else, it's just another Saturday, but it's all good. We're all in it to win it. We're all trying to accomplish the same goal. So I want to go ahead and discuss, one of the things that I feel definitely get overlooked or just don't get misunderstood time and time and again. This may be something that I've talked about in the past, but I want to revisit this because I really feel it is important. And this is going to be kind of focused on the mid to late people that are in the mid to late stages of the game. The concept of stats versus sets. Now, and which is more important, right? If you are new to the game, I definitely will talk a little bit about the beginning stages of the game and why you might find a little bit of value out of this video, later down the road. But for the most part, we're going to be focused around the mid to late game players. Now, beginning game players, as you progress within the scenario dungeons, you're going to get yourself, particular runes. These runes combined in a 2-piece set or a 4-piece set is going to give you the opportunity to get raw stats that's definitely going to accelerate your progression in this game. Is this something that I recommend taking advantage of for all the units as you move early on in the game? Most definitely. Because of that, those raw stats you get, they're since the rune quality that you get at the very early stages of the game is relatively low, not just the primary stats, but the substats is really low. You can get a ton of value out of completing some of those rune sets that you never thought you would early on, right? Those fatal, those blade, the energy, the swift, the focus, all those you're going to find a lot of value out of in completing those sets early on in the game. One of my favorite ones to focus on early on in the game has to be the Swift set. Getting that speed is going to generate you just more turns per round and just allow you to get through the cycle of your unit skills, through and through. That being said, obviously there's a lot more to it when we move with regards to this game. And in the mid to late stages, the 5-star and 6-star runes that we obtain are going to give us such extraordinary stats on both the primary set and the subset that's going to allow us to break away from some of these traditional rune sets that we've used early on in the game and basically get us more overall stats versus the stats that we used to get on some of these rune sets, early on. So why is this important? Because there's certain units out there that really need to be focused. Their runes need to be revolved around stats, and there's some units that need to be revolved around sets. They're just gonna, if they're revolved around these particular aspects, they're gonna provide you a lot more benefit. So today I'm gonna be focused on 2 different units. One, revolved around stats and one revolved around sets. And why is it so important? Okay, the units are going to be obviously the most popular unit when it comes to stats that I want to focus on today has to be Lucian, the Wind Joker. Everybody knows the strength of this unit. Like, it's a Nat 4 unit, but you can call it like a Nat 6, right? You can call it a natural 6-star. I mean, the damage that can be generated from his 3rd skill, Amputation Magic, being able to do an AoE damage with ignore defense is extremely strong. This particular unit is used in a multitude of situations for not just PvE, but PvP. So you can find a lot of value in prioritizing some of the runes that you have on this particular unit. But again, if you're new to the game, or maybe you've been kind of, you're new to the game or whatnot, you have, gotten these new units that you've seen other people utilize. And, the first thing you do is ask that public chat or check the monster debate box. Like, hey, how do I build this? What do I do about this? And you'll see, even after 2 years, you'll still see people say, you need Fatal Blade, you need Rage Blade, you need Swift Blade, you need all this other stuff in it. When in all reality, all you need is stats. You need a certain amount of critical rate, critical damage, speed if you're trying to speed tune the unit. And then, of course, if you can get yourself some HP substats to make sure it doesn't die after one hit, that's extremely important. Lucian falls into that category of stats because, again, all you're doing is focusing on doing everything in your power to get maximum value out of that 3rd skill and do the maximum amount of damage possible. With regards to like some of these common rune sets that people talk about, violence set, we don't care about the violence set when it comes to Lucian. We're just trying to get that unit with that one trick wonder to do the necessary damage. We can care less if he gets additional turns. Despair set, yes, Despair set is nice because he is a 2 AoE unit, and generally people recommend Despair set on a 2 AoE damage dealing unit. But again, we don't need it because at the end of the day, it's just all about stats and creating the most amount of damage possible. Now, that being said, I'm sure there's going to be a handful of people out there that, but Childish, my best combination of runes or stats are generated from a particular rune set. If that is the case, then by all means use it. But for some of you guys that are mid to late game players, you got yourself quite a few months. You've been farming for quite some time, and you got yourself quite a bit of runes. So you can really, this is a great opportunity for you to take a look at that monster box, take a look at those runes, maybe take some of these runes you've been holding for quite some time, and now you've saved up enough money to go ahead and get them to plus 12, see how they roll out, to go ahead and see where they roll out and hopefully combine them so that you can basically get the stats you need without the use of certain sets. For example, when it comes to Lucian, right? We're looking at, for my particular Lucians, I'm looking for a 150 speed Lucian with in my particular composition because I use Bernard, Bastet, and a double Lucian, right, for an AO speed clearing team. In addition to that, I have a Guild War based team with Charlotte, Bastet, and Lucian, right? That's a predominant team that you guys have seen time and time and again. When it comes to my Lucian, I use him in a speed-based function with regards to my teams, so I definitely need a little bit of speed subsets on him. But at the end of the day, I'm still revolved around the attack, critical rate, and critical damage on this particular unit. Hit points is extremely important, but is not as important as those other 4 stats that I named. Why is that? Because I'm using Lucian in a way that's going to allow me to get that first turn and be able to take the opponent out before they take me out. If I can generate enough attack damage to do that, I don't need to be too concerned about what's going to happen after that when it comes to what they do to hit me, because again, I'm utilizing a Bastet that's going to provide me a little bit of shield to go ahead and prevent me from dying. But that being said, I still want to make sure that my stats revolve around the concept that I'm trying to bring when it comes to my teams, right? So Lucian, right, when we think about hitting certain thresholds, for any damage dealing unit, when we're hitting certain thresholds, right, the concept of critical rate, critical damage, we need a certain amount of critical rate to get value out of a unit that we're focusing critical damage on, right? So when it comes to focusing on stats versus sets, you may find yourself to get a Lucian that can give you 1800 attack, 90 critical rate, 150 critical damage, and plus 150 speed using 2 focus runes, 1 blade rune, a nemesis rune, a guard rune, and a swift rune or something like that. Like you might be able to break away from that standard blade subset that you really needed early on in the game to get him that 70, 75, 80% critical rate threshold that you set for yourself in an effort to make him viable for you in the PvP setting. Now, since you realize that you have raw runes with raw stats, or runes with raw stats that allow you to get the sets you want, you can take those really nice blade sets that you have, put them on a different unit that really needs a buff and when it comes to critical rate, and now you got 2 different units that are allowing you to get yourself, where you want to be at the end of the day. So that's my kind of example when it comes to focusing on stats. When you can focus on stats, you can break away from the sets, and now you can make more compositions that you didn't even think about. Okay. Before I get into the set one, I want to talk about once again last week's video. This is a great example as well. The unit, my Rune Optimizer video, we talked about my focus on making a cleave-based team, and while making that team, I was able to improve the consistency and the speed of my DB10 team without even trying too hard. Why is that? Because I focused on the stats versus the stats, and I prioritized, or I took advantage of certain units that I had that already came with great raw stats, whether they came from his leader skill or they came from Awakenings, the unit, that allowed me to break away from a really strong rune build that I had on him and give it to somebody else that can't generate the amount of critical rate that he had, right? So, for example, the one I'm talking about is PiBrGames. PiBrGames, with a 24% critical rate leader skill and a 50% awakening bonus, he's going to get a lot of value out of a rune set that you have that has everything that you need minus the critical rate. I can take advantage of him, use him in that leader skill position, take advantage of that leader skill plus the bonus that you get from awakening, get that random stat on there, and basically get the stats that I want without using my best runes. That rune set that I had on him initially I was able to take that, move it over to Luna. Luna now has has 100 critical rate, which was a 17% critical rate increase prior to. Now she's a lot more reliable when it comes to my team, and it never would have happened if I didn't think about the concept of stats versus sets and making sure that whichever runes that I use, I take advantage of the not just the stats that I have, but the units that I'm utilizing on, so that I don't have to lose value out of another potential rune that I can do, or unit and rune build that I can do. Okay. Next topic, right? The value of sets, right? Stats are extremely important, but there is definitely a lot of units out there. I'll say a lot of units. I want to say some units out there that you have to make an argument for a set versus a stat through and through. Now, don't get me wrong. When we're talking about the set, we can make an argument for a set and certain stats to be focused on. But there's definitely certain units out there that no matter what you do, if you don't have a particular set on it, you're going to lose a lot of value out of this unit. Okay, so the one that I want to talk about today is by far one of the strongest monsters in the game. Has definitely opened a window of so many opportunities when this unit was released. We have ourselves Galleon, the water pirate captain, right? Galleon, why is he so strong? Because he is literally the foundation of every single composition when it comes to PvP teams as well as PvE speed clearing teams that allow you to accelerate the way that you can clear those speed-based PvE teams, but obviously, optimally, create yourselves opportunities to utilize some of those non-ignoring defense teams in your compositions to clear those teams that you've been facing, that much quicker, right? Galleon, when it comes to PvE side, we're definitely focused on the violence set. The violence set is one of those that you definitely want to make an argument for having on him. Why? Because of that time to loot. That time to loot skill is by far the strongest skill in his monster kit, and being able to have that opportunity to reduce the cooldown time and get that skill up multiple times is extremely strong. But again, that's not even the gist of it. Having the opportunity to have the additional turns is going to give him an opportunity, right, to utilize his first skill that's going to provide you a defense break, okay? And of course, his second skill, we can make an argument for that as well. Having that attack bar manipulation, absorbing the attack bar of the person that's hitting, especially if we're talking about the third stage mini boss or the main boss, manipulating the attack bar is extremely strong, and it's going to allow us to get more turns at the end of the day. Everything that in his monster kit is extremely strong. Now, when it comes to the violence set, once we kind of figure that out, we definitely want to be focused on certain stats, right? We need him to be fast and we need him to be accurate. Those are the primary stats we want to focus on. Why does he need to be fast? We need to make sure that he's going before all of our nukers so that they can take value out of that time to loot. Why do we need him to be accurate, right? There's no point in making him fast and putting him in our teams if his skill is not accurate enough. If we don't have enough accuracy to make sure that we're landing that defense break, right? We're still going to get that attack buff on that time to loot, but his first skill and third skill providing that defense break, if we don't have those available, if we miss that, we lose a lot of value. We lose a lot of time in our runs, in our PvE based runs. Okay, so making sure that he's speedy and accurate is extremely important, but those are the, between the violence set and the speed and accuracy is extremely important to do. Now, when we're talking about the concept of PvE, we're not too much focused on some of the things that you've been hearing a lot about, PvP endgame and the usage of will. We can kind of break away from will and focus on certain either raw runes or certain rune sets that will allow us to make things a little bit easier when it comes to those PvE clearing teams. When I think about the stats after speed and accuracy, we can make an argument for attack, HP, whatever critical rate, critical damage. In a in a PvE setting, in a speed clearing kind of setting, that the goal is to take down the boss before it takes you out. So I'm a big fan of making my Galleon a little bit more on the damage dealing side. Versus the support-based side. It is a support-based unit, but I like the concept of the damage dealing if I have the opportunity to do it while maintaining the violence set and the speed and the accuracy, so that I can get a little bit more value out of it. That being said, if you can't do it, definitely focus on the three main things that I talk about: the violence set, the speed, and the accuracy. while making him relatively tanky, because the value that you get out of providing those buffs for the forward main units is way more important than improving the damage of Galleon. But if you are at that stage of the game where you've done everything in your power to speed tune everything, but then now you realize you've gotten a random rune that will allow you to still keep him faster than everybody else, still keep him on a violence set, but now gives you an opportunity to provide a little more attack, then definitely consider to do so. And that kind of ties into the violence set and why we want to make sure we utilize that. When it comes to subsets, I think one of the best rune sets that I would definitely recommend, especially when we're talking about PvE based teams, has to be a shield, in composition with that violence set on Galleon. Why is shield so great? Well, obviously, it provides that 15% of its max HP. Galleon being one of the higher base HP units out there for the Pirate Captains, you can get a lot more value out of having them on a shield set versus one of your damage healers. So having that shield set, since we're not using healing type units, having that shield set is going to give us a little bit of room to play around with if RNG is not on our side and we have the boss being able to get an AoE attack off and being able to do a little bit of damage. It's going to keep our units that much more alive so we can get that last 30 to 20% in whatever stage we are in an effort to clear that run and get it done. Okay, that's the PvE Galleon, right? When we're focused on PvP, obviously a lot of things change. We could be making an argument for shield, will, violent, whatever the case may be, but it's highly dependent on where you're utilizing Galleon in your game. Now, for those that only have one Galleon, I'm a big fan of focusing on that PvE style of Galleon so that you can get a lot more value out of your B10 runs and the B10 runs that you're trying to use, because again, those are going to give you the runes that you need to make all your other units better in PvP, right? So that I would focus on that. But if you are somebody that is moving on and maybe got in a situation that I did, where you have the opportunity to make a second Galleon for your a different type of AO comp or Guild War comp or whatnot, then yeah, see what you can do to create your Galleon and make sure that not only he's still speedy and accurate, but fine-tuning him with your composition while making relatively tanky, getting the will, getting the shield, so you can make those cleave themes so that you can essentially utilize him without the use of those violent sets that you've been craving to utilize another units out there. Again, that is a general perspective on the concept of stats versus sets. I really want to make an argument about this, as far as talking to you about this, because when we think about different aspects of the game, I think another really big one here is Rift of Worlds. Even I made the mistake of really trying to put a lot of my units on violent set because I was like, oh, additional turns, that's going to be the way to go. When I realized that, outside the healers and the cleansers, everybody else can really be off of violence set and still do well. And when you realize that certain units need sets and certain units need stats, that opens up such a handful of runes that you never would have thought would have been imaginable to build other units or create alternative rune builds on the other units so that you can thereby improve your progression in other aspects of the game. So I hope this video helped you out. I'm sure that this was a combination of 2 to 3 videos that I made and trying to put it all together. But again, the Rune Removal Day is something that we shouldn't be taking for granted. We should be really doing everything in our power to maximize this. And when it comes to the concept that we're talking about, as you guys saw last week's video, we talked about the benefits of the Rune Optimizer and how this could be really useful for you. Everything that I talked about today when it comes to making the necessary changes when it comes to stats versus sets and trying to analyze it, look at it from a broader perspective and trying to figure out which combination is going to be the best in certain situations, anybody can do that. But if you do play around with the Rune Optimizer, you can do it much more efficiently. You can get it done in a shorter amount of time. This may open a little bit more time for you to go ahead and test out certain compositions and see if things are where you want it to be. And then if not, you can obviously make the necessary changes and go back to the drawing board. Literally, today is, I'm making this video, what is this, Wednesday? This video will be out here within 12 hours, right? Probably late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning. You can literally take this Rune Optimizer right now, load up your units and runes, load up your units and runes in here, and virtually Rerune monsters as you see fit. So when you log in that first moment on Saturday, you know exactly what you're trying to do. You're not wasting any time. You can enjoy the rest of the day because you have everything worked out the way you want. Okay. So that is it, guys. I apologize for taking so much more of your time, but I'm very, very passionate about not only the concept of the stats versus set and really trying to prioritize your runes, but the availability, the blessing that we have received from the makers of these different types of tools or whatnot, like the Rune Optimizer or whatnot, to really maximize our runes in a short amount of time, so that we don't have to spend so much time like trying to figure it out and sit there like with pen and paper trying to figure everything out, you know, at the end of the day. So that's all I got for y'all today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It's a pleasure to make these videos for you as always. It's your boy Childish with ChildishPlays checking out. Take care, and we will see you next time, guys. We're out.